Broadcasting live from the EBSN online studios in Columbus, Ohio. It's The Rivalry, the tale of two schools, with former NFL scout and son of legendary Michigan head coach, Schembechler, bringing you both sides of the greatest rivalry in all of sports. Here's your host, Shemy Schembechler.
Hello, everybody. Shemy Schembechler, host of the Rivalry Classic Football Show. As you can tell, we do not have an Ohio State counterpart just yet, but we will get one for you soon. The legendary Zach Boren has to step out on some family business for this weekend. But later on in the show, we're going to have one of the best Ohio State quarterbacks ever to play the game, the great Greg Fry, the hardest working media guy I know down here in Columbus. I'm really happy this week because Michigan and Ohio State dominated on the same weekend. And in regards to the rivalry, I can see this getting teed up towards the end of the year. Obviously, we have a long season ahead of us. But for Michigan to dominate the Nebraska Cornhuskers the way they did, and the Buckeyes to do the same thing with Tulane, I feel like the Rivalry Classic is certainly on track as we get towards the last Saturday in November. We have a lot to be excited about. Obviously, the Haskins machine has yet to slow down, and they're going to be up for their first real challenge, in my mind, when they go to State College to face the Nittany Lions of Penn State. And then Michigan travels to Evanston to play the Northwestern Wildcats, which does have its own share of adversity. They've had a tough year so far, and we'll be sure to track that game and forecast it for you guys and go through the nuts and bolts of football. In the meantime, I'm very excited because when you talk about my father's coaching career and everything that he achieved, the emphasis of the fullback within the offense, all right? When we get lined up to play in the pro-style formation with a running back and a fullback, which was required within the Michigan offense, we had to have certain tough guys to be able to run all the inside runs that we did during the heyday of Michigan football. So with that in mind, we are very fortunate to have one of the very best fullbacks that actually transitioned into the coaching profession and went on to have a great NFL coaching career. We have the great Gerald Ingram of Michigan. Hello, Gerald. How are you?
Wonderful. Go Blue, Shemy. How you doing? Great to be along.
My main man. You know, Gerald, obviously, we've known each other for many, many years, and I remember when I was a young scout in the National Football League when I broke in with the Kansas City Chiefs, and I always came to the Combine looking for you because you always made me smarter in regards to how to evaluate particularly offensive players. So it's a great pleasure to have you on the show, Gerald, and we want to talk about, obviously, your Michigan playing career, your coaching career in the National Football League, and obviously what you're doing these days. So, Gerald, tell me, give me some of your best boast stories that you love to tell everybody.
I have a lot of them.
I know you do.
Are still on my behind.
Exactly. Many of them led to building your character, right, Gerald?
Yes, you got that right. Everything I've done, everything I've been able to accomplish, everything I've been able to coach and educate and talk to young kids started with the best decision that I ever made at 18 years old was to be able to believe your father. And the things that Bo said, they were very truthful in every way.
Yep.
And they're very prideful. And you got to understand, I also was at a time where, you know, when Bob Ufer was around and he was a very inspirational and excitable person,
yes.
And I had never met anybody like that.
Yep.
And he brought me into the Michigan way of passion and excitement. You got to understand, I'm down here in Florida in the SEC.
No doubt.
Okay? And I tell these people all the time, I say, you can have your SEC, but you'll never have the class and football, education, and everything you can think of in college football in one school. You will never have that you'll have at the University of Michigan. You can go anywhere across the country, and you will find a Michigan jersey, a T-shirt, or something that has to do with Michigan.
Yep.
Something that's going to be written, researched, or done, because I see on the field winning, off the field winning in Michigan, in football or whatever, it's all the same. We are Michigan, period.
Well, I tell you what, you talk about the pride in Michigan that got instilled for every guy that ever put on the winged helmet and wore the maize and blue. And, Gerald, you certainly exemplify that. So I want to explain something to everybody because you had mentioned the legendary Bob Ufer, the voice of Michigan football for well over 40 years. And it was amazing the impact that he had. And the relationship that Bo and Bob had was truly special because when I grew up, Gerald, they lived about 2 minutes from our house. And Mr. Ufer would always be over at our house. And one of my favorite stories of Bob Ufer is he came over to our house one day, and in rare fashion, he wasn't smiling, which was kind of weird because he was one of the happiest, most go-lucky guys you'll ever want to meet. And he comes into our house and goes down to visit my dad in the basement, and he goes, "Bo, I got something I got to show you." And he's got a stern face. And so as soon as he got Bo's attention, Bob Ufer smiles up, and he has this mouth guard that says "Go Blue" right on the teeth.
Yeah.
and Bo starts laughing. I go, he goes, "Ufer, I should have known you would try something like this." And they started cracking up.
He was beautiful. He loved him. He talked about him all the time. We all loved him.
He loved him.
It's just like your dad. And, I was blessed to be around a lot of great people at Michigan. And,
yes, sir.
And some other coaches that, and Tom Coughlin, he had such a love and respect for your dad.
Right.
As a matter of fact,
and he told me on many occasions too, Gerald.
Our first year, he went up there to spend time and talk to your dad about building a team. And we started the Jacksonville Jaguars from the ground level up.
Exactly, because you're an expansion team back then.
About him about securing an offensive line.
Yep.
And a defensive line and doing it the right way.
Yep.
Some guys may want skill, they want this, they want that, but he talked to me, and Tom will talk about it all the time.
No doubt.
And we took Tony Baselli.
That was my next comment. That was the very first pick in Jaguars history.
Yeah. But and in my coaching career, when I left the University of Michigan, I went with Paul Shadell, who was an assistant there, who also had played for Bo, at Miami of Ohio. And they had gone way back.
Right.
And that was my first coaching job. Right. And I learned an awful lot working with Paul because he allowed me, my first year being a running back, he educated me and said I need to spend time with the offensive linemen.
Right.
And I spent time coaching with Dave Magazoo, who was a former coach there as well.
And Dave GA'd for Bo, yes.
And we all came up, Ken Cameron and Mike Turgovac and, and a few other people. We came up the tree the right way. And, I was blessed to learn a lot from the people directing me in the right way of doing things.
Right.
And that's what we do. We educate people that, hey, you want to win. There's a right way and there's a wrong way, and and that's the most important thing, and it all work out in the end. But one thing that we're definitely going to do, we're going to play with heart and passion and pride.
Exactly.
That's what we're going to do, and that's the Michigan way, and we'll always be that way.
Yep. Well, you're exactly right, Gerald. And you talk about instilling character and enthusiasm and toughness into your program. That certainly comes from the top on down. And I think Bo really understood that. And he created a culture at Michigan that built some outstanding coaches, and you were certainly one of them. Gerald, obviously, and you understand the history between Michigan and Ohio State and how special that rivalry is. We will always call it the greatest rivalry in all of sports. And the fact that you graduated from Michigan, and Bo basically made you a GA right after you graduated. Is that correct?
Yes, he did.
So
he did. He made me a graduate assistant coach.
Yep.
And actually, he wanted me to stay. I was their graduate assistant for a year, and then I left. And he wanted me to stay around a little bit longer. And Lloyd Carr spent a lot of time talking to both your dad and Lloyd Carr. Talked me into coaching, so I'm still ripping them about that. No, but,
hey, Gerald, it's too late to have any regrets, my friend.
Yeah. Well, at the time, I really mostly appreciate. They both talked to me that at that time there weren't enough former players who were African Americans at that time trying to go into coaching. They were coming to Michigan and, or leave and, go into sales or into other different careers and facets. And your dad talked to me and says, hey, I've watched you work summer camps here before, and I had never had a one-to-one talk to your dad like this, and it was kind of awkward for me, and he was talking about future and development and working with kids and trying to make a difference. And this is such a great, profession, but they don't spend a lot of time trying to convince players to get into that area.
Right.
But he was with me one-on-one, and I was just like big-eyed, open, and excited. And I'm like, well, I never thought about that in all the years.
Right.
Never thought about the coaching thing, other than you see some former players who come back and think. But as a student athlete, you're not really at Michigan. You're not thinking about that. I'm thinking about business, liberal arts, all these other things that I could possibly get into.
Right.
Other than that, and it made sense.
Right.
And it was a gift and a following, and they opened the door for me to be something I've enjoyed all my life.
Right.
But they were the difference makers for me.
Right. Well, I tell you what, Gerald, and it was almost like Bo was quite the visionary, because in all the years that I got to know you in coaching the National Football League in my days in scouting, to me, you were always the great educator. And you love talking football, and you love talking players and talent. And you're one of the rare guys that I actually valued, and don't take this the wrong way, Gerald, that I valued your opinion on talent evaluation and identifying players. And it's just no surprise to me that you look at your career in Jacksonville and then subsequently with the New York Giants, all the great running backs that you identified and drafted. And I love bragging about you and talking about your days with the Giants when you had Tiki Barber. And I remember the story about Tiki Barber when he first got in the league. I mean, he had a fumble problem, didn't he, Gerald?
Yeah, he averaged around 16 to 19 fumbles. And we evaluated, we looked at it, and now everybody says hard and tight.
Exactly.
I
think you're the first one that thought of it, Gerald.
So everybody used high and tight, and we had to correct. There were things that you can correct. The thing I learned at Michigan is everything is about detail.
Exactly.
And one thing your dad always said that always stuck in my mind, and Terrell Burton, who was my position coach, is that if you want to be a great player, you want to be a great offensive player, you study to be a great defensive player. If you want to be a great defensive player, you study to be a great offensive player.
Right.
And instead of trying to, always point blame in situations, it's about the solution.
Exactly.
And how are we going to, how are we going to secure the solutions and making sure that we're better?
Right.
Do we have the right players doing the right plays in the right situations?
Right.
You get to, educate these players to understand. See, they come from high school and know very little.
Right.
They know their talent is what they know.
Right.
But a lot of players really don't understand and know football and their positions and how to make it great and how to be an all-around player, and how to get better at situations. Situation football, it's all about situation football.
No doubt.
You win games on situation football, and they don't really know. So while you're doing these drills, sometimes you can't just do drills for the sake of drills. You got to do drills that educate these players to understanding how to win the game.
Exactly.
At the right time in the right situation, and understand that, look, this game is a fast game.
It's a fast game.
You have to play with speed and knowledge on the field to anticipate.
Right.
And that's one thing that Michigan had great coaches around them that they were not going to sacrifice for your discipline and knowledge and persistence at it over and over. We're a habit. Habit is what we do every single day, and that's what your dad was doing. We're going to create habit.
No doubt.
Okay?
No doubt.
Get it right.
No doubt.
And the character of the man is going to show in his winning ability.
Right. Well,
I've been blessed.
Goodness gracious, Gerald. It's good to know that Bo's legacy is well intact with the likes of you. Okay?
Me and every Michigan man that's out there.
Exactly.
We wear a footprint in it.
Yes, we do. And so we're looking forward to getting the footprint back to where it was so we can beat Ohio State on a regular basis.
This is a year. This is a year. You know what?
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you. I got to tell you. I wear my Michigan helmet I don't know if did you see it last year on Facebook? I wear my Michigan helmet
really?
every Ohio State game. It's the only game I sit there with my Michigan helmet on while I'm watching the game, and I don't take it off until the end of the game.
God bless you. God bless you. Gerald, tell us about some of your best recollections of Michigan-Ohio State week when you were a player.
My freshman year was an education because, it's at the end of the year and you're starting to get, your course load starts to build up and this and so forth. And I'll never forget your dad said, "This is Michigan week, guys.
Yep.
This is Michigan week. You tough it out, but you spend the time. You're going to watch this year, last year, and the year before's tape.
Yep.
But we're going to find a way to beat Ohio State."
Yep.
It's Ohio State week. We're going to find a way to beat Ohio State. You can get this done.
Right.
Because we're not telling you that you got to do less of anything.
Right.
It's that you got to do more to prepare.
Right.
In the classroom, but we're going to prepare even more this week because it's Ohio State week.
No doubt.
And, as a young guy, from then on, as a freshman, it just kind of sticks with you. And then the next class comes through, and you're saying to that young class, "Hey, son, do you realize it's Ohio State week? This isn't like last week. It's not like last week.
No doubt.
It's not like the week before.
No
it's
doubt.
not like when we beat Notre Dame.
Right.
That was months ago.
Right.
Okay. This game. Nobody else is going to care about this game.
Right.
Period. The rest of your life, you will think about every Ohio State game that you win.
Right. No
and
doubt.
Bless you, we had a class. In my class, I had Anthony Carter, Keith Bostic, Rich Hewlett,
Johnny Wangler.
Bunch of great athletes in my class.
Yep.
And the class before me, and it still stays with. We talk about it all the time.
No doubt.
There is no other week than Ohio State week.
No doubt. You're absolutely right. So, Gerald, you've been able to evaluate this Michigan program, and I think our timing this week is almost perfect because obviously you saw the dismantling of the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Kind of talk to us about your thoughts on this year's team, and why do you think we have a legitimate chance to come to Columbus and take down the Buckeyes?
Again, we see a great defense that can fly around, can do things, that can win the battle up front.
Yep.
Got to play through the consistency, going to have to play through the injuries, going to have to play through pain. It's going to be a long season, but it's going to have to start there. But that defensive line is going to, as this goes on with the last 2 weeks, making the offensive line better every day in practice.
Precisely.
It makes those guys better and challenges those guys to be better.
Right.
Okay? And I think that's why the defense is going to push the offensive line to be better, and some of the young offensive players that have an opportunity to contribute in different areas to be playmakers will make a difference. The quarterback situation and having competition. So you have the one guy on the field, but you got that one guy that is going to create competition. But it's not a selfish competition. Right. I think this team will come together, in a very selfless way. That the confidence that they needed in the last 2 weeks.
Yep.
Hopefully it continues to grow.
Right.
Because you and I know more than anything, and we've talked about this.
Yes, sir.
In the NFL, a great player, I've seen a Heisman Trophy player be a cliffhanger in the NFL.
Right.
Not be able to handle the mental pressures.
Right.
He's been playing this game all his life.
Right.
Now he's in a little more complicated game. The pressure's on, the media's on him, and all of this. And all of a sudden, they lose their ability to think and produce at the same level.
Right.
It's all about keeping your confidence and growing your confidence.
No doubt.
And scoring points. You're in college football now. You got to score points.
Yep.
You have to have your playmakers. You have to have people that match up to certain people. You got to learn where's your matchup as the big games come on.
Right.
It's going to be a linebacker match. It's going to be, are they a cover 2 team? Or we're going to have to motion running back outside to find out if we can get a receiver on a linebacker. Or
right.
we're going to motion a running back out there and find out that a linebacker walked out there and it's man coverage.
Right.
Okay, well, it's man coverage. Who are we going to? Are they doubling in man coverage? Who's singled? Someone's got to be singled up as a tight end.
Exactly.
Or do we move the receiver, our best receiver, in a linebacker situation against Ohio State and say, hey, that's going to be the reason why we win. We're just not, it's not Ohio State week. We're not doing the same thing.
Right.
Okay? We are in an umbrella. It looks the same, but it's not the same.
Right.
Okay, and we're gonna play with the speed that we need. We have some talented guys out there.
Right.
Okay, now we stir up the run game. We got to be more consistent in the run game.
Exactly.
And that'll develop with the line and in certain situations.
Right.
But when that happens, something else becomes a weakness. And as we find that weakness, because we got great coaches there, and it's gonna happen. Okay, it's going to happen. I love what's happened in the last couple of weeks because that second half of that Notre Dame game was better than the first.
Yep, no doubt. Especially when you're talking about the Michigan defense because they were able to get recollected and lock down Notre Dame's offense. And I just think that they have really progressed since then. Now, they had a couple brain farts against SMU, but I think they really got that cleaned up against Nebraska. And here's the thing I want to talk to you about because I've been chanting incessantly about creating a sense of urgency and confidence in the offensive line. All right,
you're exactly right. A sense of urgency,
and I think we're getting there. And this is why when we hired Ed Warner back over the summer, how much better I felt about the development of the offensive line. So the idea that they're making legitimate progress as a unit. I feel really good about it. Now, let me ask you about this.
In that whole process, and you remember in the NFL, it's not just the offensive line. It's the running backs working with the offensive line to protect the quarterback, to help protect the quarterback, to run the ball in situation. And there are times the running back has got to make plays that inspire the offensive line.
Right. Exactly.
We all work together on getting this done.
So, Gerald, now that we're on the subject of running backs, give me your thoughts on Karan Higdon and what he's been able to do so far this year.
Well, I see a guy out there who's playing and trying to have fun.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And he's growing little by little. But he just looks like a guy who's just out there trying to grow and have fun.
Right.
And I see him getting better and better and stronger as he goes. And it'll be interesting to see how it ends up at the end of the year. The only thing I really want to see us develop in situations is if they're matching up and doubling certain people, how do we utilize the running back in a matchup situation to win in situations?
Exactly. Yep. And it's kind of interesting.
I want to see a little bit more in the pass game. Is it scat? Is it something? Are they sometimes they're sugaring the linebackers in and so forth. They're guessing with you. Sometimes I just want to see them be like New England and some of the things that we've done and see him, who's going to be that back in a passing situation, in a one-on situation where you really need it, or in a first down situation where you're playing situation football, where you got to stay out of those second and longs and third and longs situations. You got to win the first and second down. You got to win your third down situation, your third and medium situation. Who's your go-to guy as opposed to us looking up and say, it's the tight end. We know it's the tight end. Okay? Who else is it? Where's the matchup? It's the outside. You bring the outside into your motion, inside to outside. Who do we free up, in situations that we catch the short pass that turns into a long pass?
That provides a check down option. Now, here's the interesting thing that I thought about that, Gerald. We got to let you go after this, is the injury of Evans. Evans is the guy that they have used on those checkdowns as an option as a receiver when things break down, all right? They don't use Higdon to the same level that they did with Evans, and I thought it was interesting that Evans, he was hurt last week. Supposedly he's going to be back this week and healthy for Northwestern. to me, that's
Right.
a very interesting dynamic when you're talking about two different styles of back, where you have Evans, who's the elusive change-up, make you miss type of back, whereas Higdon's the
Right.
burst, the 10, 20-yard burst that's going to get the long run for you. So
Right.
I'm actually excited to get Evans back, and I think that's going to serve the Michigan offense that much better.
Right.
Gerald, hey, we so appreciate you coming on the air. We're going to get you on here soon. Any last parting opinions about the rest of this season for both Michigan and Ohio State?
Well, I'm excited every week when I watch them play.
Mm-hmm.
I just want, the first thing that I see is I'm always trying to evaluate the passion and the running around.
Yep.
On and off the field.
Yep.
All the little things, all the character things.
Yep.
That's, win or loss, I want to see them fly around, be excited, jump all over each other how we used to be, love each other. Just see the Michigan spirit.
Exactly. No doubt.
And because the fans there, you got 107,000 fans.
Yep.
They're with you.
Right.
But start the snowball. When I look at the running backs, I've always told the running backs this. We start the game with us, we end the game with us.
Right.
In a 4-minute situation to protect the ball. Okay? That's what we do.
Yep.
We create some toughness and we inspire.
Right.
That's what we're supposed to do. As long as what we want to see as Michigan people is the inspiration of each other out on that field, running around with a search energy, with some speed to get there on special teams, offense, and defense and play great Michigan football.
All right, Gerald.
I'm excited about it every week.
Well, goodness gracious, I'm going to get Harbaugh on the phone and fly you up to Evanston and do the pregame speech before the game. Can you handle that?
I would love to. I can't wait to get there.
Oh,
Okay?
goodness gracious,
I
buddy.
can't wait to get there. You know what? I would be so excited to say something to these young men.
No doubt.
Because I love this institution. It's the greatest institution in America.
Right.
It's the greatest. And once we start to get that belief,
Yep.
we are.
Yep.
That's the only difference in Alabama right now.
Yep.
It's just the belief.
Yep.
There's no
Hey, Gerald, they got good players too now.
Doubt. There's no doubt. We're not going to question each other like you did. We're not going to talk about each other. We're not going to question each other.
Exactly.
We're going to love each other. We're going to work with each other. You know what I'm saying? We bring this team together, and everybody starts saying, this is the way it's going to be. When we beat Ohio State every single year, there's no doubt. There's no question. We know what we got to do, and we go out there and we go get it done, period.
No doubt. Gerald, you're the best, buddy. Hey, we got to run. Gerald, we thank you so much for coming on the show. We're going to take a quick break. The Rivalry Classic Football Show. We'll be right back with the great Greg Fry himself. We'll see you in a little bit. Go Blue. If you're a Michigan Wolverine fan, you know there is only one place to go to get all the latest and greatest Michigan and blue gear from Nike and Jordan brand. That place is, of course, the M-Den, the official merchandise retailer of Michigan Athletics. Make the M-Den your one-stop shop for all your University of Michigan apparel needs. Visit the M-Den today online at www.mden.com. Go Blue.
This is Doug Worthington, former Ohio State captain, and I'm at The College Traditions, where they have the official Nike apparel that the college players and the coaches wear on the sideline. College Tradition has the flags, they have the decals for the cars, they have everything to show your Buckeye pride. Come down, Buckeye Nation. College Tradition has a range for your feline friends and your canine pups that you can come and get them laced up in some of the best Buckeye gear. Being 6'6", 305 pounds, it is hard to find gear in my size. College Traditions have up to 5X in some of your best Buckeye gear. Come get you a lid, curve up that dome with the best hack selection in Columbus, Ohio. College Tradition, all the great apparel, all the great gear, and things for your man cave. Come down, check us out.
At Power Bar, we know you get what you put in. You get the energy and the excitement, the encouragement and the escape, the friendship and the loyalty. You get everything you need and nothing you don't. That's why Power Bar is back with remixed recipes and all new products to help you power on and savor every moment. Welcome to the new us.
Hi, my name is Crystal, and I'm a private client advisor with one of the leading insurance intermediaries for highly successful individuals. Because of our size, we have powerful partnerships with the industry's premier carriers. I specialize in leveraging these relationships to find my clients the most efficient and effective insurance solutions at the best prices. Don't miss out on this opportunity. A consultation with me is at no cost to you. Whether it be for your business or your personal insurance needs, you earned it, and now let me help you protect it.
All right, welcome back, everybody. The Rivalry Classic Football Show with dear friend, the legendary Greg Fry. Hello, buddy.
Glad to be here, Shemy.
You bailed us out tonight, buddy.
Yes.
Goodness gracious.
Came off the bench.
Well, I don't know if you should be on the bench at all, okay? To me, you're a starter in waiting, all right?
Thank you.
Anyway, so apparently you were up in the greatest state in the nation over the weekend, huh?
Well,
Michigan.
I was in Michigan last weekend.
Did you buy gas in Toledo like Woody used to?
No, I didn't do that. I like the American economy, so I did buy gas in Michigan.
Well, the Wolverines appreciate you then.
I'm sure they do. That's
So
the least I can do.
Exactly. What were you doing up there?
I was attending the Miss Michigan and Miss Teen Michigan USA pageant, my first ever pageant.
Awesome.
My girlfriend Melissa is the director for Ohio and Michigan.
How about that?
So it was, I got to be a fly on the wall and watch the whole process.
How about that?
And it was really cool. I mean,
Yeah.
I've never had an experience like that.
Yeah.
And of course, it's a small world because Elise Motti wins Miss Michigan USA.
Exactly.
And I'm just staring at her dad, and I'm like, that guy looks familiar, and I just can't. And then finally, I'm like, Motti, Bruce Motti. Wait a minute. Former SID at Michigan.
Exactly.
You
and
know?
he still works there at the athletic
Which
department.
is just, I mean,
now understand that. Now this is her uncle. All right.
I understand that.
Yeah. Okay.
I understand. But her dad is his brother.
Right.
And he looks like Bruce. So I'm
that's
looking at
right,
him going,
true.
I see a resemblance, and I couldn't figure it out. So it took me a couple days.
Exactly.
It finally got to me.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing.
It is. It's really cool.
It's really amazing. And so
really
Bruce, it was so funny. I just talked to him yesterday, and I said, "Hey, congratulations! You're the great uncle of the Miss Michigan pageant." So that's pretty amazing. All right.
It really was, and she was incredible. She deserved to win.
Right. So what did she do to win?
Well, in a pageant, it's and again, this is first time seeing it. So
Rookie.
There's a swimsuit competition.
Yeah.
There's an evening gown competition. They're also interviewed by the judges, and that's where I knew a few of the judges, and I got to kind of be a fly on the wall. I wasn't involved in the interviews, but they've got to do well in the interviews.
Yeah, no doubt.
So clearly, what they look like is very important.
Right.
But I can just tell you, when I saw her come out in her evening gown, I mean, it was impressive. She looked stunning.
Right.
And she got everybody's attention. So, clearly from the get-go, from what I could tell and everything I was hearing, she was in the mix.
Yeah.
And she pulled it off, and she won.
It's so funny because we love Bruce so much. I mean, I'd be like, Bruce, like, she didn't get that from your side of the family. How the hell does that happen?
It happens. It happens.
It's like somehow if I had a daughter or a niece that won some pageant somewhere, I would expect somebody to give me the same type of grief.
Well,
that's just me.
No, but it happens, and you know what? And congratulations! It's
exactly. That's phenomenal.
Incredible honor.
That's phenomenal. All right, well, let's transition. I want to talk about this Ohio State team because it seems like they're on cruise control offensively. All right. And I've watched their personnel for a long period of time. I understand their offensive line, their skill set at wide receiver, their running back depth. It's all top of the line. And to me, it's the most elite, talented offensive side of the ball. I'd put it up there with Alabama myself. All right. The thing about it is, and I do not want to take anything away from Haskins, okay? But Haskins has benefited from unbelievable protection in every game this year, all right? And that is a quarterback's dream. And so as we get through the season, as we go into State College and get ready for Penn State, there's going to be some points of adversity where teams are going to start to figure out how to attack them via pass rush and pass rush combinations. Penn State is one of those teams, okay? I've been a little bit down on Penn State. I kind of predicted this at the beginning of the season. We're going to talk about them later. Is they lost so many guys coming out in the draft and graduation. I think they have 2 returning starters from last year. And I think they're going to be aggressive in regards to how they're going to call their defense at home to see if there's somehow they can get inside Haskins' head via pass rush. Because otherwise, I think they're in deep and dire trouble.
True. And in this, see, I like talking the X and O's with you because
it's fun.
Because you see so much because you've seen so much film. You understand
you
players.
And I are junkies.
True. And I think there's we get it. There's so much hype about the offense right now because they've just been putting up video game like numbers. And and the thing I've been saying about Haskins is, and clearly I'm so impressed.
Oh,
so impressed. I mean, he's
a top 5 pick if he comes out in the draft. At least top 10 in my mind.
When I saw him 2 years ago in the spring game, he jumped off the page to me. And you and I, we've watched a lot of film. You can tell when there's there's certain guys just jump off the page. His release and his athletic ability and his confidence. So he's playing amazing. And this supporting cast right now is incredible. You're talking about veteran receivers, 2 stud running backs, offensive lines getting a job done. But we know that doesn't always last.
Exactly.
Adversity is going to set in at some point. You're going to State College on Saturday night. There will be some adversities. And like any quarterback, he's human.
Right.
And if you put a pass rush on somebody, with crowd noise, all of a sudden things are different.
Right.
And I don't care who you are. You talk Tom Brady.
Exactly.
You put a pass rush on Tom Brady, and I didn't see all the game on Sunday night, but
I watched part of it.
There was probably a pass rush there, right?
Well, I mean, Tom's one of these guys, and I can see certain comparisons between him and Haskins. Now, Haskins is the better athlete, make no mistake, okay? But the thing that I think about that draws them together is their poise, okay? They've got the frame, they got the size, they got the arm strength, they got the accuracy. But it's their poise, I think, separates them from the vast majority of other quarterbacks, whether it's the NFL or the Big Ten Conference. And as I watch him, it seems to me that he's making excellent decisions pre-snap. Like, he knows where he's going with the ball because he gets back there in a 3-step drop and the ball is gone, all right? I don't know how you and he's done a heck of a job in the film room. I already know that. And this is his first full year of starting.
Right.
Is to have that type of poise and that confidence and to go into the film room to anticipate what defenses are going to do to him.
Right.
This is what the NFL is really all about. All right. But nobody's pressured him yet.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And if Ohio State's going to come out and they're going to go 3 wideouts and 1 back, there's going to be teams that are going to try to take advantage of a really tall offensive line, okay? One of the issues that you have when you have a really tall offensive line is inside blitzes, okay? Because you got guys working through the same gap, all right? And oftentimes, if your pad level is too high and you can't bend and get down when these guys rip those shoulders through there, it can create some issues protection-wise. I have yet to see a defense go against Ohio State and try to use these exotic blitzes where they're attacking them on the inside.
Yeah.
And when you got Knox, who's the shortest guy on the entire offensive line, and he's 6'4", I'm waiting for somebody like a Khalil Hudson, who is very adept at getting low and closing and creating pressure. I want to see if anybody on that Penn State defense can do it. I think they can, but I think they're so inexperienced on defense, they don't understand the timing of how to blitz right.
Right.
That's the thing to me.
Well, again, we're getting to that point in the season where there's still questions. There's always question marks. How good is Ohio State?
Right.
How good is Penn State? They've shown opposite extremes this year. They barely beat App State in overtime.
They should have lost, actually.
Last week against Illinois,
right.
That game is close. They were losing at the end of the third quarter.
Yeah.
And they run off 35 straight in the fourth quarter, which I've never seen.
Exactly.
So they put it away, clearly,
Right.
but they're giving up some rushing yards.
Yes, they are.
That's the thing that really got my attention about
doubt.
that defense. So
No doubt.
I don't see their defense being as good as last year.
Not even close.
And certainly they've lost some players. They've lost some players on offense too.
Right.
But you got a great one in Trace McSorley, and you had a good running back combination there again. Just similar to last year, where those two guys are making a lot of plays on the ground.
No doubt.
So, but I go back to Ohio State offensively. To me, the O-line is still – they're doing great.
They're
so
doing
far.
great.
They're doing great.
No
but I would
doubt.
agree with you. This is going to be a big test for them.
Right.
They got to protect him. But I think.
And here's the thing now, Greg. When you go into foreign territory, and I actually made a mistake when they went down to play TCU. I thought it was going to be a road game. It was more like a home game. Okay.
True.
More like a home. You had more Ohio State fans than TCU fans.
That was a neutral site. This is not a neutral site.
I know that. Yeah, they're not letting the Buckeyes go out there.
Not a neutral site.
And it's going to be loud. And it's going to be obnoxious. And believe you me, I've been to that place.
Yeah.
When Penn State first joined the league, I was a GA at Michigan that year. And we go in there, and there was literally a snowdrift that they had to clear everything out to get ready for the game. And it was amazing how obnoxiously loud it was at the opening kickoff. To me, it's the loudest stadium in the Big Ten Conference.
I agree.
Nothing against Ohio State because we know how loud that place is. But the key to me is you've got to go in there with a silent count. You cannot go with a cadence, all right? And when you can't go in with a cadence, there's going to be some communication issues as it relates to when to snap the ball and when everybody's ready to go.
Right.
All right?
Right.
It means your offensive line has to be really disciplined. Yeah. Okay? Haskins can sit back there and clap his hands and get ready to get the ball. But in terms of protection, you have to be ready when the ball is snapped.
Yeah, you do.
And it's interesting to me when you go to those silent counts, and you know more about that than I do.
Well, I've been in that environment. I certainly played in many Big Ten environments. I have not played there.
Right.
But for the people that don't understand that, for a lot of fans don't understand how loud that can be. Like you can't even
hear yourself think.
Could not hear each other.
Exactly.
And when you've got that, and when you add some adversity in that, and there's some intensity in a situation like that where it takes some courage. I mean, that you are tested,
right?
Because it's not something you can practice during the week.
Right.
You can pump in all the noise you want.
Right.
It's a different deal,
right?
Especially when that defense is putting pressure on. So, it's a big test.
Yeah.
And I'm the other point I was going to make about Haskins is just he's so well coached. Ryan Day.
Oh, jeez.
You make the pro, the pro analogies.
I think he'll be a head coach next year.
Well, yeah, but that's the guy that's coaching this quarterback.
Exactly.
Who's played in the pros.
Yep,
so
no doubt.
I think I'd be curious to get in the film room and see what Haskins knows and doesn't know. But the point is, as a quarterback coach, you got to put your QB in positions to have success.
Right.
And Ryan Day is doing a fabulous job with that because the ball's coming out, as you say. His pre-snap reads are great.
Yep.
He's very accurate. You know me, I'm a stickler on fundamentals. His fundamentals are obscenely good.
They're very advanced for a guy who hadn't played very
much. And that ball comes out like,
oh my goodness,
right now.
And he puts enough pace on the ball where it's not overwhelming. Like he can make all the throws.
He's got a cannon, yeah.
He's got a cannon, but he makes it a very catchable ball. Okay.
And here's the thing: is I watched another thing I should say. I watched a little bit of last week's game and really tried to dig in. And there's room for improvement. He had such a great game last week.
Oh yeah.
I'm watching the film, going, well, there's something. There was one point early in the game. He had time and he got a little flustered.
Right.
And he started stepping up and started trying to run. He didn't have to.
Right.
And that's the mark of a young quarterback still trying to get his feel in the pocket.
Right.
And he had time. It was almost like he had too much time. He's like,
exactly.
What do I do?
Exactly.
What do I do?
Yeah.
And a few of the ball placements, even the one touchdown to Paris Campbell, was a little bit behind.
Right.
And Paris made a great play because the DB had his hand on it, and he actually did a great job pulling the ball away. But that ball should be on the other shower where it's an easy catch.
No doubt.
And I'm nitpicking, but those are things that I'm sure he's being coached on.
Right.
But
oftentimes that's just experience, Greg.
But he's making so many good reads.
No doubt.
Right?
Absolutely.
I mean, his completion percentage is
absolutely
off the charts.
Yep, no doubt. And here's the other thing, because I was watching the first half of that TCU game. They dropped the ball on him in the first half. All right.
Oh yeah. 11. Austin Mack.
I was down on Austin Mack for the whole first half.
Well, he lost. He lost his confidence.
Exactly.
Austin Mack's a heck of a receiver.
Now the funny thing is he'll be playing on Sundays, just like the vast majority of that personnel on offense.
Receiver.
But
the
thing is, and I give Day a lot of credit because they stayed with him. He had a much better second half than he did the first half.
We had a couple catches early in the game that were really good.
Exactly, yeah.
But you know how it is.
The opening pass that went down the right sideline, and it was an unbelievable adjustment to set up for the first touchdown.
But I agree, they stuck with him. I like that.
Yeah.
And that shows a lot of confidence in them.
Yeah, exactly. No doubt about it. So I want to get into, and this is what's always been very interesting to me, because I always love to complain about Urban's kickoff strategy last year, and now that the rules have changed, it just seems like they've totally gotten away from that angle kick. All right, because you understand the guy can just stand down there and get the fair catch and get 25. It's almost like they've abandoned it, knowing that the return team can do that. Isn't that interesting?
Can you explain that rule to me? Are we working away from kickoffs?
I just think they want to make the kickoff obsolete. I already know that, all right, because they're all afraid about the concussions and all that stuff. And to me, it takes away from the strategy of the game, which I always hate.
Yeah.
When they take away from the strategy of the game, and maybe we can have another discussion about concussions, because I've done a little bit of research in that area too.
I'm familiar.
Is concussions are the result of repetitive hits, not a single hit. All right? And it happens a lot more to the running back, safeties, and defensive players that are coming downhill to make tackles.
Speed.
I don't think it's as much a result on kickoffs or kickoff returns, for that matter.
Well, I'd love to know the actual statistics on that, like how many head injuries occur on kickoffs.
Right. Well, it's very hard to determine.
Right.
Okay. Because when a player goes down there and say he's and they used to have in the old days the old wedge breaker and those types of guys. We used to have Walter Smith at Michigan.
You run through that wall.
Who was the very best at it, and he loved it.
See those 4 guys right there? Run through them.
Exactly.
At full speed, by the way.
No, your job is to disrupt the entire return so the guys behind you can go make a play.
Right.
And I'm of the opinion, and we're all about protecting players and doing all those things, but you don't want to lose the authenticity of the game, all right?
Yeah.
Because Ohio State, they're going to have great athletes that can run down and cover and do all those great things. I missed that. I missed that part.
They're really good at
college football. They were
teams are copying what they're doing.
I know that, but they were good at it until they played Penn State, and then the running back took it all the way for a touchdown.
I mean, that guy is kind of special.
Well, yeah, but they blocked it well too.
But you're right. Hey, I go to the home opener this year, and I'm watching the game, and I was not aware of that rule yet.
Right.
Right. Mm-hmm. And I see the hand go up and I'm like, what?
Exactly.
It's a kickoff. Why? You can't fair catch in a kickoff. Well, apparently you can now.
Yeah. Exactly.
Don't like it. Not a fan.
Yeah.
Not a fan.
But I think if we're going to get back to the authenticity of the game and where Ohio State could be really good again, because I come from the world of Sid Gilman, where he always educated us about position's more important than possession. Okay? If we can pin a team down there and make them go 90 yards as opposed to 75, it's a huge difference.
Big.
And when you're a team like Ohio State, who is adept at rushing the passer, and if you get him to second, third, and long, you're going to have a lot of fun.
Right.
Next thing you know, you're going to get a sack, fumble, return for a touchdown. I want to talk a little bit about the Ohio State defense, all right? And the loss of Nick Bosa, I think, is going to take its toll as they get further into the Big Ten Conference, because there is no doubt in my mind when you look at the Ohio State defensive personnel, they've got the personnel to be equally as productive. It's just they're not, all right? Bosa is going to be a void of production that they're going to miss as they get into this regular season, all right? It's going to be interesting to me in terms of how, if he's in position to come back and get ready to play, how's he going to evaluate that when you know he's a top 5 pick in the NFL?
Yeah.
What do you think?
Well, and again, it's going to depend on when. I mean, it's the latest we hear is potentially November.
My prediction was, and I read all the articles about that injury, because when you get surgery in the lower abdomen, it's almost like a hamstring tear in a different area. Okay? Now, we're never going to know, all right? Because we don't know the severity of the tear, how much the surgery had to repair.
Right.
And my prediction was that he would be back for Michigan State the second weekend in November.
It's about 6-7 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what I thought.
Yeah.
And so to me, with his older brother playing for the Chargers and being the first pick in the draft, do you think that him or his family are going to look to make a business decision?
Well,
I hope not. I want him back in to play in the Michigan game.
Right.
Make no mistake.
I doubt that. I mean, I feel like if he can play, the last 3 games, I mean, again, they have a chance to do some great things this year. So this would be his last season. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't see him not coming out.
Okay.
Now, here's the other thing. All right. This is what bothers me, because I want him back. I want him to play. All right. When you get an injury like that, how do you rehab and keep up with your conditioning? All right.
Well, that was the next point I was going to make.
Yeah.
Because you can't.
You can't.
Because again, we can assume he probably can outrun because that's your abdomen.
So what do you do from a conditioning standpoint to make sure you're ready?
Well, I think
it worries
okay, so
me.
let's project forward a little bit. I mean, first of all,
now understand everybody. I'm the Michigan guy. I want him back. Okay.
Right, and I'd want the same for Michigan.
Exactly.
I mean, for sure.
Well, not everybody's like you and me.
We're on the same page with that.
Yes,
a lot of people are not.
Exactly.
That's a whole other discussion.
Yeah.
But I think first of all, he's going to get great treatment. I mean, they're going to do everything they can to accelerate recovery. No. Look at JT Barrett last year.
Yeah.
Knee surgery. 7 days later, he plays in the Big Ten championship game.
Exactly.
That is unheard of.
And he was lights out.
And they doubled down on his rehab the whole week, like literally 24/7.
Right.
So the rehab's going to be there, and they'll put him. They will do everything they can to get him ready. So the question is, at what point can he start doing some cardio?
Right.
Maybe he can get to the point where he can do cardio where he's not fit to play.
Right.
But he can work on his conditioning a little bit. So
before Halloween, hopefully.
And yeah, you'd hope. But at some point, the training staff's got to get there with the docs.
Right.
And Mickey Marotti and the strength conditioning. And say, okay, what can we do to get him in shape? So then he gets the green light.
Right.
Then it's okay. How many snaps can he take?
Right.
Right. I mean, he's not going to be in game shape to play a whole game.
And here's the thing, considering the amount of depth that they have on the defensive front.
Right.
I mean, to see Tyler Friday, what he did last weekend. I mean, there's a guy that's going to be ready to play. He's going to make significant improvements as they get through the year.
Right.
Okay. Right. So the value that a Bosa brings to you is, let's say we're going to put him in on third down passing situations only. All right.
Yeah.
And say we get 25 snaps out of him, and that's enough. All right. Maybe he makes the game-saving play as a result of that.
I mean, he's such a difference maker. I mean,
geez.
it is. He can control a game literally. He's that
the thing
good.
that people don't appreciate about him, everybody appreciates him, make no mistake, is what he does in the running game. I mean, you talk about getting off blocks and closing down the line of scrimmage.
Well, those poor guys. I mean, there's tackles. I mean, you talk about putting stress on an offensive tackle. I mean, he puts immediate stress on because he's so skilled at what he does. And he's so quick. I mean,
no doubt.
He shows up on film, but I guarantee you on the field he's quicker than those guys think.
Right.
Because he's by him like right now.
Oh my goodness.
So I think, but in the meantime, you got some young guys that have an opportunity to step up, and they have talent. I mean, clearly there's not a lot of drop off in the amount of talent, but they lose the experience. And again, he's just up here.
I just think when you're talking about talent and experience and how that leads into production, I mean, you got to learn how to play in this league. And I just think that's so critically important. And by the time they got to the end of last year, you knew that Bosa was going to be ready to come out this year. You just knew it.
Yeah,
I knew it.
I think the big question for me is the overall defense.
Right.
How much have they improved in the last couple of weeks?
I agree.
Because early the first 2 games of the year, they're giving up a lot of big plays.
Exactly.
Teams weren't really driving on them, which is a very good thing.
Right.
But they're giving up the big play. Exactly. You got a number of first-year players there. So again, to me that's the biggest question against Penn State. How good is the Buckeye defense?
Yeah, let's take a quick break.
You got it.
We're going to take a break. We're going to talk about the rest of the Ohio State personnel. Okay, so all you Buckeyes can stop complaining about talking Michigan all the time. All right? The Rivalry Classic Football Show. Go Blue.
Go Bucks. Took me a second.
If you're a Michigan Wolverine fan, you know there is only one place to go to get all the latest and greatest Michigan and blue gear from Nike and Jordan brand. That place is, of course, the M-Den, the official merchandise retailer of Michigan athletics. Make the M-Den your one-stop shop for all your University of Michigan apparel needs. Visit the M-Den today online at www.mden.com. Go Blue.
This is Doug Worthington, former Ohio State captain, and I'm at The College Traditions, where they have the official Nike apparel that the college players and the coaches wear on the sideline. College Tradition has the flags, they have the decals for the cars, they have everything to show your Buckeye pride. Come down, Buckeye Nation. College Tradition has a range for your feline friends and your canine pups that you can come and get them laced up in some of the best Buckeye gear. Being 6'6", 305 pounds, it is hard to find gear in my size. College Traditions has up to 5X in some of your best Buckeye gear. Come get you a lid, curve up that dome with the best hat selection in Columbus, Ohio. College Tradition, all the great apparel, all the great gear, and things for your man cave. Come down, check us out.
At Power Bar, we know you get what you put in. You get the energy and the excitement, the encouragement and the escape, the friendship and the loyalty. You get everything you need and nothing you don't. That's why Power Bar is back with remixed recipes and all new products to help you power on and savor every moment. Welcome to the new us.
Hi, my name is Crystal, and I'm a private client advisor with one of the leading insurance intermediaries for highly successful individuals. Because of our size, we have powerful partnerships with the industry's premier carriers. I specialize in leveraging these relationships to find my clients the most efficient and effective insurance solutions at the best prices. Don't miss out on this opportunity. A consultation with me is at no cost to you. Whether it be for your business or your personal insurance needs, you earned it, and now let me help you protect it.
Welcome back, everybody. The Rivalry Classic Football Show. We've got Schembechler and Fry in the house tonight, all right? We wanted to continue our discussion on the Ohio State Bucket. Now, all you Michigan people, you need to listen to this discussion if you're going to be prepared for the big game in the last Saturday in November. So don't just tune out just because it's Ohio State. It's almost like we all have to game plan.
Don't get furious. Ready. Get curious.
Exactly.
Learn the details.
Excellent point. All right. That's an excellent point. So we want to talk about the rest of the defensive team. And I'm going to go back to the TCU game, is when you're lined up against a spread concept offense and you've got a speed burner at running back, all right? So I remember the 93-yard run, all right? And what they did was that they took the tight end and they motioned over to the boundary, okay? And they lined that guy up. And the will linebacker to the boundary was not ready for it. I can't tell you who it was, but you talk about instinctually whiffing on the play, because all that was a backside draw. That's all it was. And the idea that you create a matchup situation with your offensive line, and when I looked at TCU's offensive line, they had a pretty good level of athletic ability, but I didn't think they were all that big, you know, because by the time we got to the second half of that game, the Ohio State defensive line started pounding him into submission. Right. But you have to be prepared to defend sideline to sideline when you get teams that are going to try to out-scheme you like that.
Right. And I didn't see that play. I was listening to that on the radio, but as I'm listening to that, I'm thinking somebody took a bad angle. Right. It was a safety or linebacker, because you don't bust a 93-yard play. Somebody took a bad angle, whiffed, and gone. Well,
it's almost like you have to react. You have to know that it's going to come to you. All right.
Right.
And you can. It is a busted assignment, but it's almost like you're not assignment sound, knowing what options the offense is going to give to you, is going to provide against you. Okay. And so that's a busted play. And it's
fixable, which to me is a good thing.
It's very fixable.
It's not like they pounded it down our throat. It's not like they went 12 plays and ran it down our throat.
But here's the thing, is that you have a Penn State offense that does basically the same thing. And it's going to be a little more effective, because if you look at Penn State's offensive line, I mean, they got plenty of size. They're a lot bigger than TCU is. And I'm not here to say they're going to be a dominating offensive line, but you have to be ready when you're looking at the quarterback. And we've talked about McSorley a lot.
Right.
And then the running back, who I think is having an unbelievably great year.
He is. Filling some big shoes, and he's having a great year. He's
Miles Sanders.
He's got over 500 yards rushing so far.
Yeah, and he's not the explosive back that we had last year for the New York Giants. But he is productive, he's instinctive, and he's a good athlete.
He's averaging 7 yards a carry. Yeah. That's nothing to sneeze at.
And here's the thing, he breaks tackles.
Right.
He's got some size about him, 5'11", 215.
They're rushing for 275 a game. Now, again, you can question some of the
they haven't played anybody yet. Yeah.
Right? But they're balanced on offense again, as they've been the last couple of years. So you got a few different people on the offense, but that offense is still producing. My question is, again, now you're going to play at Ohio State defensively. It'll be the best defense they've faced so far this year.
Right.
You know, they're going to score points. McSorley, he's good. That guy
I would say TCU. I don't know.
Well, That's the thing. Do we know?
I mean, I don't know.
TCU loses to Texas, though, so how good are they?
I totally get it. I think the emotions of that game against Ohio State took its toll on TCU,
Probably.
but that's for another discussion.
Right.
I think everything's going to run through McSorley, all right?
Agree.
McSorley's a great athlete that has excellent instincts, but he likes to take chances, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that's a scenario where you can take advantage of some things with what he's doing. I think Tough Borland is probably by far the most important player at Ohio State in this game.
Why is that?
Okay? Because he has the instinctual qualities, he understands his keys, and to me, he's the best second-level defender of the RPO option.
Okay.
Okay?
Do we need to explain the RPO to your audience?
Yeah, run-pass option, all right? Now, it's become pretty prevalent in college football over the last 2 or 3 years.
Absolutely.
Now. But run-pass option provides the flexibility to the quarterback to say, we're gonna give the ball out here to our running back, who's really productive, averaging 7 yards a carry, but we can make a read based on how the linebackers are reacting to what they're doing, all right? So when Michigan went out and played Penn State last year, they killed us on it because we didn't have a safety that could cover that slot receiver in the middle of the field. And they torched us on it. The kid had about 10 catches last year. And so that, to me, is going to be the key to what they do, all right? I have total confidence in Ohio State's secondary being able to cover, all right, especially off the line of scrimmage. Tough Borland is going to be critical to stopping their run because, to me, if you're going to be effective against a McSorley, I would much rather take away the run against him than the pass because I want him to take those risks and those challenges that could play into Ohio State's hands.
And what about the little bit of film I watched last week against Tulane?
Right.
I saw Isaiah Pryor come up. His Buckeye strong safety, and he came up in run support. And I'm thinking of one play in particular. He came up like he was shot out of a cannon.
Oh yeah,
and blew up. I believe it was the quarterback. I mean, it was impressive.
Very.
The angle that he took exploded through the tackle.
Yep.
I mean, it was one of those what you're like, whoa.
Exactly.
So is a guy like that going to be a factor? Kind of being the seventh guy in the box.
It depends on how the play opens up if he decides to pull the ball back.
Well, and it goes. You talk about run pass option.
Now. Go ahead.
Well, the point I was going to make is now a lot of these offenses, I'm sure with McSorley, there's so many things that could happen on the snap of the ball. He could give it. He's reading the defender. He could give it.
Right.
He could also keep it and run.
Exactly.
He could also keep it and throw.
Yeah, and
that's
throw
the
like a screen.
Right, a bubble, or sometimes you've got a receiver that sits kind of in a hole behind a backer, so he's reading the backer. If the backer collapses, he's throwing it right in the hole.
Exactly.
And McSorley is one of the best at that.
Oh my goodness.
And he's a great runner too. So stopping that is you need 12 guys.
It's not easy.
You can't put 12 in the field. And
when you look at Penn State offensively, I mean they're about as prolific in terms of big plays right now in the Big Ten Conference.
Yeah.
I mean I put them up there almost with Ohio State in terms of producing big plays.
Well, and they have been the last couple of years with McSorley at quarterback. It's just been very consistent. The guy they just produce.
You're exactly right. And so I think it's a dangerous game for Ohio State.
It is.
This is why. See, we're thinking about what happens at the coin toss even before you get to the game, all right? If you're Urban Meyer and you win the coin toss, I say you take the ball first, okay? Because you want to create the first big play opportunity against a team that is susceptible to the big play, all right?
Well, it also gives you a chance to take the crowd out of the game.
That's my point.
You drive right down the field, and that crowd's going.
But you know what? We can hit a 70-yard bomb on them and take them out of the game. Ohio State's got the personnel to do that now.
I think you're right. I'm normally the type that I like to defer, but in this case, I think that's an aggressive move.
Take the ball because you don't want to let Penn State start on offense.
Yeah, and I agree. And I think the other important thing to me is special teams. That was a factor the last time the Buckeyes went up there.
Oh yeah.
You think? I mean, blocked field goal, the difference in the game.
No doubt.
Again that.
Although I like Nuremberger. If we block for him, I don't think he's going to have too many problems.
I don't think so.
He's pretty good.
But again, you have to execute in the kicking game, and you add crowd noise and just the intensity of where you're at.
Yep.
That happened last time.
Yep.
And it was a difference in the game, and fortunately the Buckeyes were able to overcome that. But later in the season, that blew that game open.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Well, good. Well, I think we got this game figured out. Now, I went out on I don't think much of a limb. I'm not a prognosticator per se, but understanding Ohio State's offense and where they are from a confidence and a personnel standpoint, I think they can put 50 on Penn State.
Wow.
I really think they can.
Wow.
All right? Because once they get that early confidence and that big play, and Penn State's defense starts thinking about it. Now, it's interesting when you look at their depth chart on defense. I mean, they got plenty of sophomores, juniors, and seniors. They got guys who have played, but they haven't started. And I think so much of defense is emotional fortitude and emotional confidence because you're trying to fly around the ball and make plays. When you give up a big play and you give up another big play, which I know Ohio State can do, you start to think twice about it, and you start to play conservative because you don't want to give up the big play.
Well, I hope you're right, but I'd have a hard time seeing 50 up there. I really would.
Do you really?
I hope you're right.
What do you think they're going to do?
I think it's going to be a challenging ball game. I really do. I just think I think the Buckeyes are a better football team, but again, it's the question marks of you got a quarterback that's been the games have been like 7-on-7s for him,
right?
Which
it's going to change
as a quarterback when that happens. I'm a little envious. It's kind of easy,
right?
It's because you're not getting pressured. That's going to be different Saturday night. Yeah. If it's not, then he's going to light him up.
Yep.
How can he not? But I think there's going to be some pressure.
Shannon's going to bring the heat this week.
Yeah, I mean, if the defense plays again, that defense is going to get tested.
No doubt.
I expect a close ball game. I believe the Buckeyes will win, but it's not going to be a cakewalk. And if you think it is, if you haven't been to Penn State, you know what I'm talking about.
Exactly.
We've been there. It's an intense place to play.
No doubt. All right, now, hey, we can talk a little Michigan now. All right. Did you watch the game?
Which game?
Nebraska.
I actually did watch a little bit. I watched a little bit of the first half. Yeah, as I was waiting for the Miss Michigan finals, I was watching that.
So me being the Michigan, I love Michigan critic. Okay, I'm like a movie critic in some ways. I've been complaining about our attitude on the offensive line, and I've been complaining about position fit on the offensive line. All right.
Okay.
I've been challenging the Michigan coaching staff to get these offensive tackles ready to play. Okay, my guy Mayfield is my favorite player on the team who doesn't play. All right, true freshman, Grand Rapids, Michigan, all of 6'6", 292 pounds. All right, he's still lean out there now, but he is athletic and he is tough and he understands how to bend, punch his hands, and run players down the field. If you watch him in the fourth quarter, a lot of these games, he's running players down the field. And these are starters for the other team, too. All right? So as much as I love the legacy of John Runyon Jr., he needs to play guard. All right? Now, what happened was you bring in a Nebraska team that, when I watched their first 3 games, a team that does not understand how to break down and tackle at the second level, okay? I didn't quite think that Michigan was going to whip him so bad up front, but lo and behold, we whipped them to pieces.
And it happened very quick.
Oh, it happened really quick.
You want to kill the will of the opposing team.
Yeah.
That Nebraska team will got killed real fast.
I mean, we're up 39-0 at half.
Yeah, but first quarter it was like bang, 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 and you could tell.
And by the time we got to the third series, Karan Higna has 150 yards rushing.
Right.
I mean, we totally took them to the woodshed. And what I'm afraid of, especially as we go into some of these foreign territories, going into Northwestern, which is always a dangerous game in my mind, is the Michigan offensive line going to be able to sustain that, all right? And I know exactly how Ed Warner's thinking about that offensive line, is do they have enough intestinal fortitude and confidence they're going to be able to take this on the road in a foreign territory? Obviously, this is nothing like Penn State. We're playing up in Evanston at Ryan Field. But are we going to be able to do the same thing physically to Penn State that we did to Nebraska? That's my biggest concern, all right? I love the idea of what Peoples-Jones has turned into. Donovan Peoples-Jones, to me, is turning into one of the premier receivers in the Big Ten Conference.
Agree.
As a sophomore, all right? He's a threat as a returner. He's dynamic as a wide receiver. His route mechanics has made so many strides since last year, it's not even funny, all right? And I remember
having that discussion with you last year.
Exactly.
Because you were like, he's not there yet.
He's not there yet.
Yeah.
And
he's showing it, but he's not consistent.
Oh, he's showing it, and he's like a gazelle out there running. Yeah. And he's very deceptive in terms of how fast he really is. Mm-hmm. And so when you consider him and Gentry and McCune and then my man Mason. I was talking about Mason last week, my big 6'2", 265-pound fullback, all right? Because I got on
you know they like the fullback. I mean, that's old school, but it's good. I love it.
This is the first time we've given him the ball on short yards and goal line, okay? Yeah. And that guy is tougher than nails. We just had Gerald Ingram on the show. Mm-hmm. This guy's the next generation of Michigan fullbacks, all right? And I love the fact that he is so involved in our inside zone run package that you want to give him the ball, because you're rewarding a guy that really gets it done on ISO blocks.
He scored the most rushing touchdowns. He had
3 touchdowns. and so I get on. So I asked Higdon I asked Gerald about Higdon, and one of my complaints about Higdon is he's fast. He doesn't pick up his feet in trash. Really? You ever notice that?
I have not.
Do you know on the play before the touchdown, who tackled him? The left guard. He got tripped by the left guard. Okay. Now I like Higdon. When he's out in space and he can go in a straight line, he's explosive.
He's averaging 8 yards a carry. He's doing something right.
Oh, I know
or you could say the O-line's open a big hole.
That's right.
Maybe he should be getting 9 yards
I would
a carry.
say more the former based on your comments. But, he got tripped up by the left guard. I went back and I watched that. I go, Higdon, pick up your feet. You need to pick up your feet and get in the end zone. And I said, you deserve it, because the guy that blocked for you to get you the touchdown got the carry the next time because he blocked for him to get the touchdown so he can get the touchdown.
That's good.
Okay.
That's good.
So anyway, so that's my deal with the Michigan offense. I love our tight ends. I think Shea Patterson is definitely coming into his own. Mm-hmm. I'm always concerned about quarterbacks that just show up for spring football. And to me,
not a guarantee.
It's not a guarantee, but I think as you watch more and more, I mean, I go up to Wisconsin when I was still working with the Redskins, and this freaking Russell Wilson guy shows up in August, the day before training camp starts, okay? And you talk about a guy learning a system and then getting voted captain right after he shows up on campus, all right? Sometimes you're going to get cats like that. Now, I'm not comparing Shea Patterson to Russell Wilson, and don't misunderstand me. But Shea Patterson, quiet leader, all right, loves his teammates, came in, wasn't a big cocky son of a gun who said, I'm big time from Ole Miss and I'm a 5-star player. He came in and put his nose to the grindstone. And I think in many ways that confidence and that work ethic is really coming out in him, all right? There was another part that concerned me because he was coming from a classic spread shotgun offense where they're running spread concepts all day. His ability to come out from center, all right, because you hadn't seen that.
Yes.
It is different. And in all honesty, I've seen plenty of quarterbacks that have done a miserable job at the collegiate high school level where they don't understand the quarterback-center exchange because they haven't done it.
Right.
That's been a pleasant surprise for me.
Yeah, and I think to me what stands out is his completion percentage. He's at 70%. So that's, anything, if you're mid-60s and up, you're doing a great job.
You are doing a great job.
And I think what I'm seeing is more confidence with him. The first game, that Notre Dame game was rough.
Right.
And it was rough on him because because Michigan couldn't run the football.
Oh, it drove me nuts.
And as a quarterback, that's a long night.
That's when I was going on my tirade.
When you can't run the football, that puts the pressure on the quarterback. And for his first game as a Wolverine, pretty difficult. Now,
and he actually played well.
He did.
Yeah.
And the good news for him, though, is since then, the rushing game has increased dramatically. They go 308 against WMU, 197 against SMU, and 285 last week. So, when the running game's there, that's what they want. I mean, that's going to open up the play-action passing game.
Exactly.
That's exactly what that offense is predicated upon.
Right.
And they're getting there.
Right. And the funny thing was, I watched a couple Ole Miss games from last year, and he literally was running for his life. And I think that was part of why he got hurt.
Okay.
And I seem to think that he is enjoying the transition because they're protecting pretty well.
Yes.
All right. Notre Dame game, never mind Notre Dame game. We didn't protect very well. We couldn't run the ball at all. But when you watch these last several games, you can see where he has the time to show poise and patience to make good decisions.
Right.
All right. He's not quite the accurate thrower that Haskins is, but he's not far behind either.
No, and he's a better athlete, I think, than people give him credit for.
He's a really good athlete.
Yeah, and I think again, every week for him is huge because he's getting more reps, he's getting more comfortable, and there's going to come a point in time here. You look at the schedule in the next 5 or 6 weeks. 2 or 3 of those, he's going to have to really play well, and he may have to bring him back and be part of a drive where they got to go win a game.
No doubt.
And he has an experience. I don't doubt him at all. I believe he can do that for them.
Right.
And his experience may lead to an extra win or two that could be the difference in their season.
Right. No doubt. And so with that said, it's amazing what a difference a year makes when you're talking about the quarterback position at Michigan. What a mess it was last year.
It was a mess.
We had so many guys go to.
I was frustrated. I mean, I'm like, come on, we got to have a quarterback up there.
It drove me nuts, and so now Harbaugh goes out and does a great job recruiting and gets a guy eligible. Well, he doesn't do it by himself, but he kind of knew. You kind of knew that he was going to be ruled eligible after the transfer, considering all the recruiting violations that Ole Miss was involved with, that they didn't take the blame for. But to get him eligible. And to see the Dylan McCaffrey development, I think, has been really special.
And I mean, what do you see in McCaffrey? I mean, is he?
Well, I mean, when you're talking about the McCaffrey family and all that they stand for, all right, they've always had really good athletes in their family, whether you're a running back or a quarterback or a wide receiver. It's the idea that they come in mature and understand how to prepare, okay? And you have a Dylan McCaffrey that goes through a redshirt year. He came in really skinny. He was probably $170 when he showed up as a true freshman. And Harbaugh's worried worries about him coming in and getting dismantled his first year. So it was actually good that he redshirted to sit back and watch. But you're talking about a guy that he's a better athlete than Patterson.
Really?
He's taller than Patterson.
I know he's taller.
He runs faster than Patterson.
Wow.
Okay? And if you watch his first series against Nebraska, he had a 75-yard touchdown run that was called back because of holding. He ran 75 yards for a touchdown.
That says something.
Exactly. And so it was an RPO option where he ran to the open side of the field and nobody could chase him down. And here's the other thing. And this is part of what, when you're talking about evaluating quarterbacks and getting flexibility out of what you're looking for, he can drop back in the pocket and he can roll out and he can be equally as accurate doing both. All right? He throws a great ball. He's got natural mechanics. I feel so good about where we are at quarterback, and I have a feeling if we ever get into a scenario where Patterson has to go down for any reason, he's going to come in and he's going to show similar poise to what Haskins has. And so I'm excited about him. Everybody was excited about him. When you talk to the Michigan guys in the locker room, they're always like, hey, that's a little secret here. This guy knows how to get ready. And it's been fun for me to watch him and the opportunities that he's had. I think the offensive coaching staff at Michigan has done a really good job in putting him in situations where he doesn't have to do everything.
Right.
But he's allowed to be himself in what he does.
Right.
And I think we're seeing a confident quarterback getting developed in a big way. So I'm excited about him as well.
But that just shows that now looks like they have 2 quarterbacks that fit what they're trying to do.
Exactly.
That's important.
Exactly. And I think there's a little bit part of that where, and I'll get on Jim about this a little bit, is understanding your players and putting them in positions where they can be successful. Okay?
Yeah.
So much of that can be a detachment. I think with all the quarterbacks that we got hurt last year, it was hard to develop that continuity and that confidence. And I think we're finally getting there. You know?
Yeah, I would agree.
Because, McCaffrey, he's a taller kid. He's almost 6'4". And Shea's not quite that, that height in the pocket where you can stand back there and make decisions. I love the idea that he is such a threat outside the pocket that people think he's just a drop-back quarterback, and he's not.
He's pretty athletic.
Yeah, he's really athletic. So he's been really fun to watch. All right, I want to talk a little bit about the Michigan defense. The Michigan defense has definitely come into its own. And here's the interesting thing. People don't realize we've had some injury problems at the defensive tackles this year. We lost Solomon, who was the great freshman out of Georgia last year. He's had a leg problem that he's been out for the last couple of weeks. But it's amazing the type of depth that Greg Madison and Don Brown have put together on that defensive side of the ball. We moved Kemp, who was a short, squatty defensive end. He gets bulked up. He plays defensive tackle this year, and he's been one of our very best interior defensive linemen this year, and he's never played it before. Devin Bush Jr., I think he's the best linebacker in the Big Ten.
He's pretty good. He's pretty good.
And people realize, and so if you see Devin Bush and you walked up to him in person, oh, he's 5'10 and a half. Wow. 5'10 and a half. But you talk about a guy that instincts, quickness, gets shot out of a cannon, takes excellent angles, and he made plays from the off hash to the sideline where he tracked down a wide receiver against Nebraska. He did it against Western Michigan too. To have him on the back half, and this is one of the things that I get excited about, because when we're talking about how you're going to create pressure against the Ohio State team, this is the guy that does it because he understands how to blitz. And he understands how to run those inside zones and timing.
Bringing the heat up the middle.
Bringing the heat up the middle.
Yeah.
And there's a key guy. And so we can talk about Khalid Hudson. We need to get Khalid to not freaking hit people in the head. All right? Now, the first call was a horrible call. So I went after the Big Ten officials on that call. But the last one was legitimate. All right? He's got to learn how to settle down.
I don't understand that.
And get under control. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyway.
I've seen a few of those this year.
What else you got, man?
Well, to me, is look at the schedule.
Oh,
you know,
it's driving me nuts.
The next, talk about finding out, you know, the question marks. The next 5 weeks for the Wolverines are
that's the biggest question mark. I mean, we can talk about our personnel and how we're progressing, but geez, we're about ready to go into a buzzsaw here.
Yeah. I mean, Northwestern and Maryland, those aren't gimmies.
Maryland's going to be a tough game.
Maryland's a physical football team. Northwestern, I mean, you never know what you're getting up there.
You never know.
Now, I will say they lost their tailback. A really sad story of Jeremy Larkin out of Cincinnati LaSalle. I mean, I watched him win a couple state championships.
He was a good back.
He had an amazing high school career.
Right.
Very good back. And
he's got that spinal stenosis.
Yeah, so he's out. His career's over.
Yeah.
But
and he accounted for 97% of their rushing yards. And he was their second leading receiver, too.
He reminded me of Marcus Allen.
Right.
Because he was very shifty, had excellent vision. He was very patient waiting for plays and holes, and he hit it.
Exactly.
And it's a shame.
Yeah.
So he's out.
Yeah, and I don't think Thorson's been as good as he was last year.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
I'd be careful. I don't know what's going on over there.
Yeah. So, I mean, that game could be a 31-10 where Michigan just, they got control. But, that could be a game late in the third quarter.
Exactly.
It's a close game. You're going, ugh,
Exactly.
So that's never guaranteed. But again, you look at you got to go at Northwestern and then Maryland, and then you got a 3-week stretch of Wisconsin at home, and then at that team in East Lansing.
Oh, jeez.
And then Penn State. Those three. I mean, there's your
gauntlet.
It's a gauntlet.
It's a classic description of a gauntlet.
That's a Big Ten gauntlet right there.
Oh my goodness.
I mean,
anyway,
back to back to back.
Yeah. Wow. We better be ready.
Yeah.
We better be ready. All right, Greg, we're going to take a break. Hey, thank you so much.
Yeah, give you one of these.
Hey, we need you to get healthy. We got to get you back next week 1,000%, okay?
I would like that. I don't like this.
Yep. Greg, we appreciate you coming in, buddy. It's been a great pleasure, as it always is.
Always.
All right.
Always.
God bless you. All right, Rivalry Classic Football Show. Go Blue.
Go Bucks.
We'll be back with Don on the other side. If you're a Michigan Wolverine fan, you know there is only one place to go to get all the latest and greatest Michigan and blue gear from Nike and Jordan brand. That place is, of course, the M-Den, the official merchandise retailer of Michigan Athletics. Make the M-Den your one-stop shop for all your University of Michigan apparel needs. Visit the M-Den today online at www.mden.com. Go Blue.
This is Doug Worthington, former Ohio State captain, and I'm at The College Traditions, where they have the official Nike apparel that the college players and the coaches wear on the sideline. College Tradition has the flags, they have the decals for the cars, they have everything to show your Buckeye pride. Come down, Buckeye Nation. College Tradition has a range for your feline friends and your canine pups that you can come and get them laced up in some of the best Buckeye gear. Being 6'6", 305 pounds, it is hard to find gear in my size. College Traditions has up to 5X in some of your best Buckeye gear. Come get you a lid, curve up that dome with the best hat selection in Columbus, Ohio. College Tradition, all the great apparel, all the great gear, and things for your man cave. Come down, check us out.
At Power Bar, we know you get what you put in. You get the energy and the excitement, the encouragement and the escape, the friendship and the loyalty. You get everything you need and nothing you don't. That's why Power Bar is back with remixed recipes and all new products to help you power on and savor every moment. Welcome to the new us.
Hi, my name is Crystal, and I'm a private client advisor with one of the leading insurance intermediaries for highly successful individuals. Because of our size, we have powerful partnerships with the industry's premier carriers. I specialize in leveraging these relationships to find my clients the most efficient and effective insurance solutions at the best prices. Don't miss out on this opportunity. A consultation with me is at no cost to you. Whether it be for your business or your personal insurance needs, you earned it, and now let me help you protect it.
All right, we're back. Rivalry Classic Football Show. All right, we're done with Buckeyes. We had the legendary Don Thomas, Michigan man out of Atlanta, Georgia. What's up, Don?
What's going on, Shemy? Happy to be back.
Good to be back. Interesting outfit you chose here this evening.
I know we're matching invertedly. You know, you got I got the blue block in with the maize shirt. You got the maize block in with the blue shirt.
Exactly.
Got my Jordan logo right here. No, wrong way. Jordan logo right here. So we're ready to rock and roll.
That's
Let's
awesome.
talk football.
That's awesome, brother. Well, for the first time, I feel confident about our team in whole, particularly about the offense. Now, you know me well enough. I will still nitpick, okay? But this by far was the best team performance of the Michigan team, I would say, in the last 3 years. Would you concur with that, Dr. Thomas?
I agree. Definitely, I really believe it's since the Maryland game back in 2016.
Mm-hmm.
Really, the complete everything came together: offense, defense, special teams. I really believe that to be the case. The offense. I mean, I watched the game back again. I rewound it, and I watched plays where the offensive line was coming out. There was one play in particular that I was really impressed with. I believe it was Karan's touchdown run to put us up 14-0.
Right.
Zach Gentry basically blocked the guy to make him take one, and where the guy froze instead of sliding into the hole to make the play, he froze for a split second, and they gave him just enough time for Karan to go by and run down the sideline for a touchdown. That's coaching.
Yeah.
And I really believe these guys are starting to take to that.
No doubt.
Did my eyes deceive me, or are we moving people up front now?
A little bit, okay?
Oh,
so don't take anything away from the impact of Ed Warner on this team, all right? And I've talked about Ed on multiple occasions on this show, and the fact that I've watched his coaching career, see, Ed gets a little uncomfortable when I talk about his days back at Rock Chalk Jayhawk in Lawrence, Kansas, when he was creating literally chicken salad out of that offensive line talent, all right? And I would sit down there and I'd evaluate some of these offensive, hey, this guy's pretty good. And then all of a sudden you get out to the practice field and you go, oh. That's what we call coaching. And so now, as he has gone on to Notre Dame and Ohio State and now Michigan, now it's amazing to watch when you actually deliver him some level of talent. So
I know. I'm impressed.
Yeah.
I think Cesar Ruiz was very mobile. And
as he always is. To me, the alignment of the game was Bredesen.
Yes. Oh, you just took – you
sorry.
Me.
Yeah.
I was about to – because, I mean, he got out there. He got out there on his pull blocks.
Right.
I mean, he kicked guys out that hole, man.
Right.
I mean,
right.
He had a mean streak. He was nasty.
Yep. Well, it's interesting because we talk about the tradition of the Wisconsin offensive line. For us to get him out of the state of Wisconsin to come to Michigan, he's bringing that type of attitude to our offensive front. And so I'm excited to have him out there. And to me, he's taken a giant step forward from Game 3 to Game 4. And not that I want to compare him to the Ohio State linemen because I think they're awfully good, but I think he's leading the way in terms of not only from a talent standpoint and his quickness and his power, but his attitude. And I think Warner plays a huge role in that.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you see when you're looking with this guy's track record and what he's done and the offensive lineman that he's produced. Taylor Decker from Ohio State, starting left tackle for the Detroit Lions, and you see the type of talent that he's produced. And then you see yourself, especially after the debacle at Notre Dame, you see yourself actually doing what he's coached you to do, what he's told you that you can do.
Right.
I mean, you're going to feel yourself a little bit. And I know the competition hasn't been exactly on a high level, but at the same time, you can't ignore. Football is football.
Exactly.
And you either play good football or you play bad football. And we've done in these last 3 games what you are supposed to do against teams of those calibers. That's what good teams do against those type of teams. And that's what we've done.
And I think, we can be excited. I want to make sure that we temper that enthusiasm at least a little bit from an evaluator's perspective, okay? Is you had a Nebraska team that you knew was going to have to be in transition, all right? They haven't recruited there for a very long period of time, all right? When I went through there, the last time I went through there is when I got to see Ndamukong Suh, and he was the best player on the field, but there was nobody else behind him. And so I think they got to have the right guy in place, which I know is Scott Frost, but it's going to take them some time because I think they have a serious personnel problem. I think the quarterback's going to be a good player at Nebraska. I think their wide receivers really have a chance, but they're going to have to get a lot of things done on the offensive line and the defensive line for them to be productive. Okay,
absolutely, and linebacker as well.
Exactly,
because their linebackers, they don't have. Those linebackers don't have those instincts.
Well,
their linebackers' feet were in cement.
In all honesty, they're terrible tacklers. I mean, if you're not going to tackle, if you're not going to step up in the gap and make plays, Michigan ran out of the C and D gap, which is outside run, pretty much at will whenever they wanted to, and for them to open up that perimeter running game to the effect that they did, goes to show you how far away the Nebraska team is. All right. The other thing is, I think you remember I talked about this last week, getting Mason involved in the running game. Did I talk about that?
Oh, my gosh.
And then the son of a gun goes out there and gets 3 touchdowns.
And I absolutely love him as a single back in the ace formation.
Yep.
I love him back there because, especially in those short yardage situations.
Yep.
I mean, especially when you open up holes, who wants to tackle that dude coming downhill at 100 miles an hour?
Don,
nope.
6'2", 265, okay? And he's coming downhill at you now. All right?
He is a piano on wheels headed downhill.
Excellent comparison. We might use that down the road, Don. Well, good. So obviously we have reason to be confident. The Michigan defense is gaining momentum even before the last 2 games. They give up a few too many big plays, but now I see we're a much more disciplined team on the back half, all right? And I just think it's interesting now that we're turning the corner a little bit in recruiting and players are starting to realize we're going to get some really good players on the back half. All right, we talked about that great safety that committed last week.
Hill, baby.
And it's almost like the secondary picked up on that because they literally locked down Nebraska.
Yeah, like you ain't taking my spot.
Exactly, and it's always interesting how intrinsically that recruiting success is going to filter down through the locker room and make players play better. And so that's what my dad used to talk about all the time, Don, is building depth to the point where you're creating competitive situations within your depth chart. And that's how you build championship programs. And I think and we talked about this a little bit when we got Devin Bush Jr., who I think is the number 1 linebacker in the Big Ten Conference, who's just playing absolutely lights out, where he makes plays sideline to sideline. He's an excellent blitzer, and I'm excited to see how the combination of him and Khaleke Hudson is going to bring to the rivalry game last Saturday in November, because one of the things I complained about with Ohio State was Haskins, he's had all day to make decisions. When is somebody going to come up with a combination that's going to bring heat and force his hand to make some poor decisions so we can turn the ball over? I mean, Haskins, he's got 17, 18 touchdowns, only 1 pick on the year. That dynamic has to change
Exactly.
And I think the Michigan defense may have the recipe to be able to get to that type of scenario. Okay.
And I agree with that. I mean, because Dwayne Haskins is sipping tea, hot tea, not that sweet tea from down south.
Right.
Hot tea in the pocket, sipping tea, putting it down, finishing the whole glass, having all the time in the world to throw, and throwing a little strike. I mean, he's a great quarterback, but yeah, you're right. He needs to be made to feel uncomfortable. Right. I think Penn State. I don't know if they have the personnel to do it this weekend, but I think Penn State will make. I think the environment will make him a little bit more uncomfortable. So I think this will be another step in the progression process. But I don't see Ohio State having too many issues.
Right.
Unless they.
Well, I think you hit on an important point, because one thing that we know about Penn State, and Greg and I talked about it in the previous segment, is managing the crowd noise. I know for a fact that Haskins, he hasn't seen crowd noise like this before. And he's an unbelievably poised quarterback, but this will be the most uncomfortable environment he's going to go into. I think the problem that Penn State has is just their personnel is not nearly what it was a year ago, when you have to replace 9 starters on defense and you're trying to get guys caught up to speed. They have proven defensively that they will give up the big play, and I think Ohio State's going to take full advantage of that. I went as far as to say Ohio State's going to put 50 on them. Now, Greg thinks I'm insane, but we're going to find out how insane I really am, Don.
Yeah, they got to take the crowd out of it, and I really believe that. And I believe they have the firepower to do it.
Right.
I just think whenever you don't have the athletes to stop Ohio State, which I don't believe Penn State does on the defensive side of the ball. They lost a lot last year.
Right.
I think it's going to be really difficult for them to slow them down. The only way Ohio State they even make it a game is if they self-destruct, which they did 2 years ago there.
Right. I don't think they'll do it this time.
I'm thinking.
All right. I want to talk about a little bit on defense. Obviously, we touched upon Devin Bush. Are we going to get Khaleke Hudson to get his act together? We quit getting thrown out of games.
He needs to. He's a junior. He's an upperclassman now. So
exactly.
You have to know. And I heard on social media, why was he in the game? Why was he in the game? The reason he was in the game is because he needs to still get his work in.
Exactly.
I know because he missed a whole. If he had played the first half, he wouldn't have been playing. But he still needed to get his game reps in to stay sharp and build on the next week. And you as an upperclassman, you've already have a year of starting under your belt.
Right.
You have to know what the rules are, and especially on a play like that when you're up by 4 or 5 touchdowns.
Right.
There's no way in the world that you need to go in there with your head. That was a clear rule. I mean, call it what you will, but that was a clear rules violation.
Well, it was kind of a shame, because I thought the first time that they suspended him for the half, I thought that was a horrible call, but this call was a good call. So
yes, it was.
It's kind of rare for me to give credit to officials. Okay.
Your dad was very
I know, exactly. So I'm a little bit uncomfortable mentioning that, and hopefully Khaleek's listening to the point where this was not going to happen again. Now, obviously, he's going to have to miss the first half of the Northwestern game again. And we'll get him back in there and see what happens. All right.
Also, we're in good hands with Jordan Glasgow. I mean.
Well, you know what? He is excellent coming off the edge. And when they decide they're going to blitz him, he's explosive. He's quick. He plays his tail off. I'm excited about him as a backup. And then the other thing is, when we get Khaleke Hudson back and we've got both of them available as blitzers, I love the idea that we've got great flexibility that's going to spill into special teams. All right.
I agree.
Because those guys are all great special teams players, and I think when we need them, that could be the difference in the game if we got them on coverage units. Okay.
Absolutely.
Here's the other guy, Chase Winovich. Oh my goodness. People down here, they talk about Rashawn Gary. We used to have Doug Worthington on the show. And he said exactly. That's our old friend. He would never give Winovich any credit. He says, "Hey, we got Rashawn Gary. He's a top 15 pick in my mind, but then you guys got nobody else." Chase Winovich. Do you remember our boy Ryan plays for Green Bay?
Jake Ryan, of course.
Jake Ryan. This kid's a better version of Jake Ryan. Okay, because he's so instinctive. He's so quick. He plays hard. And he can play the 3-4 outside backer. And in many ways, that's how they play him. When they put him outside as a 7 technique, which means he's lined up a yard or a half a yard outside the tackle, that guy's hard to block. And so I envision him lining up on that side against Prince at right tackle and in many ways giving him as many problems as Prince had 2 years ago with Taco Charlton.
Oh yes, absolutely.
So,
I mean, he's a lightning bolt. I mean,
right.
The thing is, I mean, he's kind of from a standpoint of sideline to sideline player,
right.
he's Devin Bush light.
Right.
You know, I mean, that was not a promotion for a beer, but yes,
exactly.
That's what he is. He's able to get from sideline to sideline. He's instinctive, as you said.
Right.
I mean, he is a heat-seeking missile, just like Devin Bush is. I mean, he can.
Well, he's not as fast as Devin, but
that's what I said. That's why I said Devin Bush.
Devin Bush light. Okay. Yeah. Exactly. And here's the other thing, you know, because when Nebraska decided they were going to line up, and we all know that they had protection problems, our secondary did a pretty good job covering them, because I came into that game understanding Nebraska, they got some athletes on the outside. And, you know, they had guys like C.J. Spielman. I love telling the story of C.J. Spielman. You know how I know C.J.? C.J., his dad is Rick Spielman, Chris's brother. Rick is now the current general manager for the Minnesota Vikings. I remember we worked together with the Chicago Bears. And I remember when Rick and Michelle adopted CJ, and he was 3 or 4 years old, running around Hallis Hall back in the day. I knew him before he became a Big Ten football player, and he could run back then too. But those were the days. Sorry to sidetrack a little bit. But in terms of Nebraska's perimeter receivers, we did a good job covering those guys. And my hope is that we have enough confidence out of our safeties as well as our nickel. I mean, I just think the world of Long and Lavert Hill and Watson. We got 3 really good corners that know how to cover. I just want to make sure that when we get into those nickel situations, we have to walk our safety down onto the slot, that we're going to be able to handle it. So we'll see how that comes about. All right?
Yeah, but actually, honestly, Metellus has done a good job of man coverage this year when he's come up. So I think
he messed up one play 2 weeks ago against SMU.
See, there you go nitpicking again, man.
It gave up an 80-yard touchdown. That's not nitpicking. That's giving up a big play.
Okay. I was full body of work. I think he's done an all right job, but also we have Tyree Cannell playing center field for us.
Right, exactly.
I think
and to be honest with you, I am more comfortable when we play with a center fielder out there. And if we can do that and still create pressure out of our front seven, which I think we can, I think we're going to have a much more well-balanced defense. And it's going to be interesting as we get ready for Northwestern. And we talked about Northwestern losing their number 1 running back, their number 1 rusher, their number 2 receiver to the spinal stenosis injury. And now you have Thorson, who I think has got a certified NFL career in front of him. He's not playing very good football these days. And when you look at Northwestern's offensive side of the ball, they have been consistently a 60-40 run-pass option team. And so now you take out their number 1 rusher, and now you have to go with a guy that's been a career backup. And I can see that dynamic having to change a little bit, where they may have to throw a little bit more than they want, because I know Michigan is going to be hell-bent on stopping the run. I see Northwestern taking some chances in this game against the Michigan defense, but I think it's going to be to their own peril.
Yep, absolutely. Mm-hmm. I agree. You know, Thorson basically with the young man being medically uncleared for the rest of his career. It's
really sad. Kid was a good player too.
I know, excellent player. With that happening, I really believe that it's going to be on Thorson, and I think Thorson's going to. I expect Thorson to probably throw 35, 40 times.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, because they got to generate something,
right?
And their running back, their backup running back has 12 carries for 21 yards.
Now he started some games a year ago. We're talking about John Moten, the backup running back. Now,
correct.
He's 6 foot 209, and to me, they're probably going to try to get him involved early because he hasn't played. So it wouldn't surprise me if they tried to run him first and get Thorson comfortable with the Michigan defense, because you want to get comfortable with Michigan's team speed, which I know is going to be really hard to do for Northwestern's offense. But you got to give Thorson a chance to get on the same field with that defense to understand how really fast they are. So when they do throw, he has some semblance of understanding for what has to happen. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And my projection is that it won't work.
Right.
And that's just how he's
going to we'll see what happens. I mean, sometimes we'll let out a big play every now and then. It's going to be a matter of how we settle down, because if you look at Northwestern's offensive front, this is probably the biggest Northwestern offensive line they've had ever since Fitzgerald's been there. Yeah. I mean, they've got some size for the first time. I remember going through their scouting where I used to look at some of those guards and centers, and I was taller than those guys, and that was kind of pathetic. But
you're not short, though.
I know that, but I mean, I'm not even 6'2" anymore because I'm getting older and shorter. And so when I went out there and I'm saying, hey, when you guys are short and you got short arms, you got some problems sustaining blocks. So I don't think they have that problem at Northwestern like they used to. They've done a good job in recruiting. And so I think that's going to be the dynamic that plays for Northwestern. It's going to give them Michigan something to think about, is that they will try to establish the running attack first. All right? Yes. Now, as we get to the other side of the ball, I think I've always thought the world, and most people don't know this, the Northwestern defensive coordinator played for my dad at Michigan. And he was a recruiting GA. No, he wasn't. He was a full defensive GA, and his name is Mike Hankwitz. Mike Hankwitz, if you remember the Texas A&M defenses of the 90s, that was his defense. And Mike is now the defensive coordinator at Northwestern. He's been there for the last decade easily. He's one of the very best schemers of defensive fronts of anybody in the Big Ten that nobody knows about. Yeah. And I think personnel-wise, Northwestern is just going to be just adequate. They've always been adequate. They've always had one or two decent defensive linemen, one decent corner, but they've never been able to recruit to the level where they can put out consistent talent at all spots on the field. And I think with Michigan, reestablishing the running game is going to be critically important. I think, and this is what I read the other day, is that Evans is going to be back healthy now. I want to get Evans back involved in the game, all right? Because I get on Higdon. Because Higdon's faster than Evans. Evans is more elusive than Higdon because Evans is a better option out the backfield because he catches the ball better. I want to get that versatility out of the Michigan backfield so we can get back to that and not have to rely on the running game all the time, all right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think that's going to be the dynamic that we need to get going. We want to make sure we protect Shea Patterson in the most effective way that we can, but I can see him having a stellar game and him and the receiving core, again, taking another step forward. So I see Michigan probably pulling this out by maybe three touchdowns, field goal. Does that make sense to you, Don?
It definitely does. I see that. I think it'll be, I think it'll be 18 to 20 attempts for Shea again. Mm-hmm. He'll be proficient, 15 completions, 200 yards, 3 touchdowns. I think it'll be that kind of game for him, and that way get him out, get Dylan some reps as well, and basically keep and hopefully we're able to keep our offense under wraps, until we get to Wisconsin and Michigan State, because we've got a lot of, just looking at our personnel, looking at our ability, there's so many wrinkles, there's so many directions that we can go in, and I'm really excited to see it, but hopefully we don't have to reveal it until, a couple weeks.
Well, I will say this, and Jim's been consistent throughout his career year. We have always saved portions of our offense that's going to take us to the rest of the season, okay? I think we remember they asked a question of Bichelle Beatty 2 weeks ago, and this was going into the Nebraska game, so it was actually last week. He says we only use 20% of our offensive call sheet, and so that's pretty typical of a Harbaugh coach team. And when we got out ahead in Ohio State in Michigan last year in those first 2 or 3 series, we knew that we were in their heads a little bit, because we could run the football whenever we wanted, because we ran a lot of that sprint draw up the middle that Ohio State wasn't quite ready for. So I think you're going to get similar things. Now, Jim's complicated now. People talk about a dry offense and not being very creative. I can promise you that his call sheet is probably longer than any other offensive coordinator in the Big Ten Conference. So don't ever forget that, all right? It may look dry, but when you're talking about how many different times we can block a certain play, you're going to get some of that. Now, as a caveat to that, when you bring in an Ed Warner has really simplified their blocking concepts to make them more understandable. But I think in terms of play calling and putting receivers in different positions and running backs in different positions to make plays, Michigan certainly has that ability. All right? Is that enough, Don?
Man, that's very very detailed.
We know how to fill up this 2 hours, don't we, buddy?
Oh, we sure do. I mean, we could talk some more, but I'm excited about what we can do this weekend. I want to see what I want to see this weekend. I want to see us get better. Right. I don't want to. I mean, of course, I want to win, obviously, but I want to see us get better and keep this momentum going further up and up and up.
No doubt.
And let's play our best football by the time Wisconsin comes to town, and then we got to go to Michigan State and bye week in Penn State. So let's play our best football then.
Exactly.
Let's take care of business, and let's get ready for this rivalry game last Saturday in November.
No doubt. Let's get ready. Don, thank you so much for Skyping in, buddy. Great to have you as always. We thank everybody for tuning into the Rivalry Classic Football Show. We want to wish you the very best, and go blue. Beat the Ohio State Buckeyes.
Beat the Buckeyes. Go blue!
Thank you very much, everybody. Have a good night.